Good morning once again, all you beautiful Bible buddies. It is time for chapter 11 of Deuteronomy. You shall therefore love the Lord your God and keep his charge, his statutes, his rules, and his commandments always. And consider today, since I am not speaking to your children who have not known or seen it, consider the discipline of the Lord your God, his greatness, his mighty hand, and his outstretched arm, his signs and his deeds that he did in Egypt to Pharaoh the king of Egypt and to all his land, and what he did to the army of Egypt, to their horses and to their chariots, how he made the water of the Red Sea flow over them as they pursued after you, and how the Lord has destroyed them to this day. And what he did to you in the wilderness until you came to this place, and what he did to Dathan and Abiram, the sons of Eliab, son of Reuben, how the earth opened its mouth and swallowed them up, with their households, their tents, and every living thing that followed them, in the midst of all Israel. For your eyes have seen all the great work of the Lord that he did. You shall therefore keep the whole commandment that I command you today, that you may be strong and go in and take possession of the land that you are going over to possess, and that you may live long in the land that the Lord swore to your fathers to give to them and to their offspring, a land flowing with milk and honey. For the land that you are entering to take possession of it is not like the land of Egypt, from which you have come, where you sowed your seed and irrigated it like a garden of vegetables. But the land that you are going over to possess is a land of hills and valleys, which drinks water by the rain from heaven, a land that the Lord your God cares for. The eyes of the Lord your God are always upon it. Sorry, I'm getting prepared to turn the page. Okay. A land that the Lord your God cares for. The eyes of the Lord your God are always upon it, from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. And if you will indeed obey my commandments that I command you today, to love the Lord your God, and to serve him with all your heart and with all your soul, he will give the rain for your land in its season, the early rain and the later rain, that you may gather in your grain and your wine and your oil. And he will give grass in your fields for your livestock, and you shall eat and be full. Take care lest your heart be deceived, and you turn aside and serve other gods and worship them. Then the anger of the Lord will be kindled against you, and he will shut up the heavens, so that there will be no rain, and the land will yield no fruit, and you will perish quickly off the good land that the Lord is giving you. You shall therefore lay up these words of mine in your heart and in your soul, and you shall bind them as a sign on your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. You shall teach them to your children, talking of them when you are sitting in your house, and when you are walking by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise. You shall write them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates, that your days and the days of your children may be multiplied in the land that the Lord swore to your fathers to give them, as long as the heavens are above the earth. For if you will be careful to do all this commandment that I command you to do, loving the Lord your God, walking in all his ways, and holding fast to him, then the Lord will drive out all these nations before you, and you will dispossess nations greater and mightier than you. Every place on which the sole of your foot treads shall be yours. Your territory shall be from the wilderness to the Lebanon, and from the river Euphrates, to the western sea. No one shall be able to stand against you. The Lord your God will lay the fear of you and the dread of you on all the land that you shall tread, as he promised you. See, I am setting before you today a blessing and a curse. The blessing, if you obey the commandment of the Lord your God, which I command you today, and the curse, if you do not obey the commandments of the Lord your God, but turn aside from the way that I am commanding you today, to go after other gods that you have not known. And when the Lord your God brings you into the land that you are entering to take possession of it, You shall set the blessings on Mount Gerizim, and the curse on Mount Ebal. Are they not beyond the Jordan, west of the road, toward the going down of the sun, in the land of the Canaanites, who lived in Arabah, opposite Gilgal, beside the oak of Moreh? For you are to cross over the Jordan to go in to take possession of the land that the Lord your God is giving you. And when you possess it and live in it, you shall be careful to do all the statutes and the rules that I am setting before you today. Which brings us to chapter 12 of Deuteronomy. These are the statutes and the rules that you shall be careful to do in the land that the Lord, the God of your fathers, has given you to possess all the days that you live on the earth. You shall surely destroy all the places where the nations whom you shall dispossess served their gods, on the high mountains and on the hills and under every green tree. You shall tear down their altars and dash in pieces their pillars and burn their Asherim with fire. You shall chop down the carved images of their gods and destroy their name out of that place. You shall not worship the Lord your God in that way, but you shall seek the place that the Lord your God will choose out of all your tribes to put his name and make his habitation there. There you shall go. And there you shall bring your burnt offerings and your sacrifices, your tithes and the contributions that you present, your vow offerings, your free will offerings, and the firstborn of your herd and of your flock. And there you shall eat before the Lord your God, and you shall rejoice, you and your households, in all that you undertake, in which the Lord your God has blessed you. You shall not do according to all that we are doing here today, everyone doing whatever is right in his own eyes, for you have not as yet come to the rest and to the inheritance the Lord your God is giving you. But when you go over the Jordan and live in the land that the Lord your God is giving you to inherit, and when he gives you rest from all your enemies around, so that you live in safety, then to the place the Lord your God will choose to make his name dwell there, there you shall bring all that I command you, your burnt offerings and your sacrifices, your tithes and the contribution that you present, and all your finest vow offerings that you vow to the Lord. And you shall rejoice before the Lord your God, you and your sons and your daughters, your male servants and your female servants, and the Levite that is within your towns, since he has no portion or inheritance with you. Take care that you do not offer your burnt offerings at any place that you see, but at the place that the Lord will choose in one of your tribes, there you shall offer your burnt offerings, and there you shall do all that I am commanding you. However, you may slaughter and eat meat within any of your towns, as much as you desire, according to the blessing of the Lord your God that he has given you. The unclean and the clean may eat of it, as of the gazelle and as of the deer. Only you shall not eat the blood, you shall pour it out on the earth like water. You may not eat within your towns the tithe of your grain, or of your wine, or of your oil, or the firstborn of your herd, or of your flock, or any of your vow offerings that you vow, or your free will offerings, or the contribution that you present. But you shall eat them before the Lord your God, in the place that the Lord your God will choose, you and your son and your daughter, your male servant and your female servant, and the Levite who is within your towns. And you shall rejoice before the Lord your God in all that you undertake. Take care that you do not neglect the Levite as long as you live in your land. When the Lord your God enlarges your territory, as he promised you, and you say, I will eat meat, because you crave meat, you may eat meat whenever you desire. If the place that the Lord your God will choose to put his name there, if the place the Lord your God will choose to put his name there is too far from you, then you may kill any of your herd or your flock, which the Lord has given you, as I have commanded you, and you may eat within your towns whenever you desire. Just as the gazelle or the deer is eaten, so you may eat of it. The unclean and the clean alike may eat of it. Only be sure that you do not eat the blood, for the blood is the life. And you shall not eat the life with the flesh. You shall not eat it. You shall pour it out on the earth like water. You shall not eat it, that all may go well with you and with your children after you, when you do what is right in the sight of the Lord. But the holy things that are due from you, and your vow offerings, you shall take, and you shall go to the place that the Lord will choose. And offer your burnt offerings, the flesh and the blood, on the altar of the Lord your God. The blood of your sacrifices shall be poured out on the altar of the Lord your God, but the flesh you may eat. Be careful to obey all these words that I command you, that it may go well with you and with your children after you forever, when you do what is good and right in the sight of the Lord your God. Sorry. When the Lord your God cuts off before you the nations whom you go in to dispossess, and you dispossess them and dwell in their land, take care that you be not ensnared to follow them after they have been destroyed before you, and that you do not inquire about their gods, saying, how did these nations serve their gods, that I also may do the same? You shall not worship the Lord your God in that way. For every abominable thing that the Lord hates they have done for their gods. For they even burn their sons and their daughters in the fire to their gods. Everything that I command you, you shall be careful to do. You shall not add to it or take from it. Which brings us to chapter 13. If a prophet or a dreamer of dreams arises among you and gives you a sign or a wonder, and the signs or wonder that he tells you comes to pass, and if he says, let us go after other gods, which you have not known, and let us serve them, you shall not listen to the words of that prophet or that dreamer of dreams. For the Lord your God is testing you to know whether you love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul. You shall walk after the Lord your God, and fear him, and keep his commandments, and obey his voice. And you shall serve him, and hold fast to him. But that prophet or that dreamer of dreams shall be put to death, because he has taught rebellion against the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, and redeemed you out of the house of slavery, to make you leave the way in which the Lord your God commanded you to walk. So you shall purge the evil from your midst. If your brother, the son of your mother, or your son, or your daughter, or the wife you embrace, or your friend who is as your own soul entices you secretly, saying, let us go and serve other gods, which neither you nor your fathers have known, some of the gods of the peoples who are around you, whether near you or far off from you, from the one end of the earth to the other, you shall not yield to him or listen to him. Nor shall your eye pity him, nor shall you spare him, nor shall you conceal him, but you shall kill him. Your hand shall be first against him to put him to death, and afterward the hand of all the people. You shall stone him to death with stones, because he sought to draw you away from the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery. And all Israel shall hear and fear, and never again do any such wickedness as this among you. If you hear in one of your cities, which the Lord your God is giving you to dwell there, that certain worthless fellows have gone out among you, and have drawn away the inhabitants of their city, saying, let us go and serve other gods, which you have not known, then you shall inquire and make search, and ask diligently, and behold, if it be true and certain that such an abomination has been done among you, you shall surely put the inhabitants of that city to the sword, devoting it to destruction, all who are in it, and its cattle, with the edge of the sword. You shall gather all its spoil into the midst of its open square, and burn the city and all its spoil with fire, as a whole burnt offering to the Lord your God. It shall be a heap forever. It shall not be built again. None of the devoted things shall stick to your hand, that the Lord may turn from the fierceness of his anger, and show you mercy, and have compassion on you, and multiply you, as he swore to your fathers. If you obey the voice of the Lord your God, keeping all his commandments that I am commanding you today, and doing what is right in the sight of the Lord your God. Which brings us to chapter 14. I'll go ahead and read another chapter. You are the sons of the Lord your God. You shall not cut yourselves or make any baldness on your foreheads for the dead. For you are a people holy to the Lord your God, and the Lord has chosen you to be a people for his treasured possession, out of all the people who are on the face of the earth. You shall not eat any abomination. These are the animals you may eat: the ox, the sheep, the goat, the deer, the gazelle, the roebuck, the wild goat, the ibex, the antelope, and the mountain sheep. Every animal that parts its hoof and has the hoof cloven in two, and chews the curd among the animals you may eat. Yet of those that chew the cud or have the hoof cloven you shall not eat these: the camel, the hare, and the rock badger, because they chew the cud but do not part the hoof, are unclean for you. And the pig, because it parts the hoof but does not chew the cud, is unclean for you. Their flesh you shall not eat, and their carcass you shall not touch. Of all that are in the waters you may eat these. Whatever has fins and scales you may eat, and whatever does not have fins and scales you shall not eat. It is unclean for you. You may eat all clean birds, but these are the ones that you shall not eat: the eagle, the bearded vulture, the black vulture, the kite, the falcon of any kind, every raven of any kind, the ostrich, the nighthawk, the seagull, the hawk of any kind, the little owl and the short-eared owl, the barn owl, and the tawny owl, the carrion vulture, and the cormorant, the stork, the heron of any kind, the hoopoe, and the bat. And all winged insects are unclean for you; they shall not be eaten. All clean winged things you may eat. You shall not eat anything that has died naturally. You may give it to the sojourner who is within your towns, that he may eat it, or you may sell it to a foreigner, for you are a holy people to the Lord your God. You shall not boil a young goat in his mother's milk. You shall tithe all the yield of your seed that comes from the field year by year. And before the Lord your God, in the place that he will choose to make his name dwell there, you shall eat the tithe of your grain, of your wine, and of your oil, and the firstborn of your herd and flock, that you may learn to fear the Lord your God always. And if the way is too long for you, so that you are not able to carry the tithe when the Lord your God blesses you, because the place is too far from you, which the Lord your God chooses to set his name there, then you shall turn it into money, and bind up the money in your hand, and go to the place that the Lord your God chooses, and spend the money for whatever you desire: oxen or sheep, or wine or strong drink, whatever your appetite craves, and you shall eat there before the Lord your God, and rejoice, you and your household. And you shall not neglect the Levite who is within your towns, for he has no portion or inheritance with you. At the end of every 3 years you shall bring out all the tithe of your produce in the same year, and lay it up within your towns. And the Levite, because he has no portion or inheritance with you, and the sojourner, the fatherless, and the widow, who are within your towns, shall come and eat and be filled, that the Lord your God may bless you in all the work of your hands that you do. Which brings us to chapter 15, which is where we will stop for the day. I do have a little topic that I'll discuss, something that I was thinking about a little bit before I started recording. I really think about it pretty often, is that I kind of wonder, because, and a lot of times when I get on these topics, like, I have a really good point, but my brain doesn't know how to, like, organize things in a understandable fashion, but it's beside the point. I'm just going to talk anyways, and it is what it is. It really feels like, because the Old Testament has a bunch of, amazing signs and wonders and whatnot, and I don't know when, because again, this is my first time reading the Bible and reading it all the way through. When we go from Old Testament to New Testament, but the fact of the matter is it doesn't seem like, as far as I can tell, that there's like some major, like, because when you, as a person, in your cranium, skull, brain, you think that there's going to be like, I'm only using this as an example, but it's a terrible example. You think there's going to be some major shift like the nuking of Nagasaki and Hiroshima, right? You think there's going to be that one big, oh crap moment. Like, wow. But I've never heard, not once, anybody speak of like going from Old Testament to New Testament like there was a major shift. Like, I think I've mentioned this before, but I'm turning my monitor here. I always kind of thought that the Old Testament ended at the Great Flood. But no, it very obviously hasn't and doesn't and isn't. There's still a lot more that goes on before then. So it's not like this, Thanos snap type moment. It's almost like all the small things add up after a while. So to move this into the point that I'm actually thinking about is that I don't know if any of you out there have heard of the prison planet theory, that Earth is one giant prison planet. Now, I don't... That sort of has stemmed from what I can tell, a bunch of people who... Introspective people, mind you, but a lot of people that do drugs and conspiracy theorists and whatnot. And trust me, as far as I can tell, it kind of helped open my mind more. Those times in my life did help me open my mind more. However, as much as it has helped me open my mind, opening my mind in that way has left more questions than answers, of which the answers, as far as I can tell, always just end up pointing to God. Like, it's almost infuriating if it weren't for the fact that, he's God and he's all loving and he's awesome and amazing and all that. But I'm left wondering, because God knew he was going to have to sacrifice himself for our sins. That means past, present, and future. I mean, you gotta think of that. I'm talking about this right now at freaking 8, 9 o'clock in the morning. But God was doing that, and we'll just talk about being sacrificed. We're not even going to talk about him building his ministry and everything. Go watch The Chosen, amazing TV show. He was already thinking past, present, and future. In the present where he was being crucified. In the past where he was giving his sermons. In the past where he was leading people out of Egypt. And in the future where I'm talking about the past where he's being crucified. The present where he was being crucified, and the future where I'm talking about. It's kind of like a weird loop. It's almost like everything loops in a way, and yeah, it's mind-boggling. It sort of is, sort of isn't. It's like the loop will never end until we are, I suppose, perfected as a species. But anyways, the prison planet analogy is that, and there's a interesting song. It's called "My Computer Just Became Self-Aware" by somebody with the name Moore. I can't remember the first name, but whatever. Is that we're here to learn our lesson on how to essentially, referring to that song again, to be introduced to the galactic population. Now, mind you, I don't entirely think that's a real thing. I'll get on to the topic of aliens here in a minute. I'll try and keep it short as much as I can. I try to keep these videos under 30 minutes, but this one might go to 45. Who knows? Is that, again, we're here because we've done some kind of wrong. There's some kind of, again, these are ideas and concepts far beyond our fathoming right now and whatnot. I mean, not that anyways, is that's the whole point, is that we basically are sent here to live, figure out how to be better, and to die. And once we die, we are determined, I don't know if that's humanity as a whole or just as an individual level, before we're able to move on to whatever's next. Now, mind you, that's a completely, in a way, since I'm reading the Bible, sort of blasphemy way of thinking. But if you think about it, couldn't that still, in a way, be God's plan? Is that, again, we are imperfect. So in order for us to receive his gift, maybe, and this goes into, the territory called ego death, which is something people trip and do. Anyways, look it up, do some research. Ego death is basically figuring out how you're, I guess, unhappy with yourself or what you're doing wrong in life and opening yourself up in a way. Ego death is a weird thing. Moving on. Is that's exactly what God's doing, is that he's essentially purifying us to make us more holy and to bring us closer to him. It feels like, in a way, that could still be what's happening. Because obviously I don't want to say I don't think, but we don't know who's going to heaven, who's going to hell. For all we know, the politicians could all be going to heaven, and all the civilians that want to take advantage of the billionaires, I guess, are going to hell. But it's so, and again, maybe I need to continue reading and whatnot before talking about all this, but, and I guess I'm getting off on the tangents, not having my point because I've lost it. But it's a theory, it's an idea, but is it the right one? I highly doubt it. I really don't think so. No. God is the way, Jesus is the truth, the life, the light, the light, the life. Sorry. But it's just, it's an interesting way to think about it, because again, it sort of brings me back to the question of who in their right mind would want to choose to not be near God or to be with God. It's crazy, and it kind of brings you back to the question of, because this is something that I was taught, or at least it was kind of explained this way, and maybe I need some more, I don't know, something, just explanation or something, somebody with a explanation. But if angels didn't have free will, then why did Lucifer have the choice at all to disobey God, no matter which way, because I've had discussions about it before with people, is no matter what way you slice and dice it, is that if Lucifer was an angel, since Lucifer was an angel, why did he have free will to disobey God? It makes, in my opinion, practically zero sense. It's absolutely mind-boggling, because again, he's with God in heaven for a little while. Okay, this is before, let's just say, this is just me theorizing here. Let's just say this is before Old Testament even begins, Obviously, he comes down to the Garden of Eden and whatnot, but that time before, he knew God. He was with God in heaven. He knew the fullness of God. And he still chose to rebel. I mean, as far as we can tell, I say we, but as far as the discussions I've had, is that he was jealous of us. Which, okay, I can grant that, I can understand that maybe angels have emotions too. Okay, we'll just say that. Angels and whatnot, they have emotions too, but they don't have free will to act outside of God's will. it still makes no sense in a way for him to do that. It, like, why? What in the world? How does it make sense? Because, again, theoretically, and this is just theorizing, angels were made before humans, as far as I can tell. Is that angels were made before humans, and we were the second creation made in God's likeness. And that's what made Lucifer jealous, is that we got free will, and it felt like God was favoritizing us, even though God doesn't have favorites. And so, what? You know? He gets butthurt and decides to, I guess, mess with God's experiment, because looping that back into this being a prison planet type deal is that maybe God's trying to figure himself out through us, because we can't understand him, but he can understand himself, yet not. I don't know. It's just, it's super weird. And that brings into slightly, aliens, is that if aliens exist, they don't have free will themselves, and they're not made in God's image, but they could still know God. Because maybe, just maybe, they didn't have a Garden of Eden scenario like we do. They didn't pin God to a tree. So, which also would probably piss off all the aliens, so, like, they would probably want to destroy this planet. But, you know, whatever, we'll just move on from that. It's... So, theoretically, in a way, they could be immortal, because, again, look at how long these people are living. Look at how long Moses has lived. Moses is still talking in this. We're not past Moses yet. Moses, not to mention, I've also heard that apparently Satan tried to get Moses, which also Satan and Lucifer are the same person, but in a way feels like they could be differentiated. Like, Lucifer is going to become Satan in a while, but he's not quite there yet. Like, maybe there's still room for Lucifer to backpedal. Maybe Lucifer could still ask for forgiveness. He's not going to, most likely, as far as I can tell. But there's possibility exists, but that's just a mini theory. Anyways, yeah. And that one of the only reasons aliens would ever come to this planet is to die, because they cannot experience death like we can. Which, in a way, death could just be the ultimate ego death, but also, I mean, honestly, yeah, it kind of feels like it is just the ultimate ego death. But I don't know. It's also mind-boggling. I'm looking for answers that I won't ever get or really have, and God has. I don't know, man. This video's gone on a little bit longer, so that is all for today's Bible study. I'm sorry for the weird little rant, and I hope you all have enjoyed. God bless.